Solar energy is pitched as a way to save money and help the planet.
I just love it. It's amazing.
But not everyone has a positive experience.
I just want them off, the house fixed, and that's it, done.
As solar panels become more popular, complaints are also piling up. We dug into the data and talked to the experts. Now, an Eyewitness News special presentation, Going Solar.
I'm consumer investigative reporter Cassidy Williams, and thanks for tuning in to Going Solar, a half-hour special looking into all things solar energy. Eversource says there were a record-setting 16,000 solar installations on homes in 2023. And with that, complaints about solar companies to the Connecticut Attorney General's office more than tripled. Common complaints include issues with the sales process, the installation, and billing. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be breaking down what you need to know and how to avoid ending up in a contract you might regret. We start by showing you how much solar costs and how much you can save.
Even on a cloudy day, Joe Graybars is grateful for his solar panels.
As a single person, this enables me to be a homeowner by reducing my utility costs. It's been fabulous.
Graybars has had the panels for around 8 years. He says they produce enough energy each month to cover his entire electric bill. He only has to pay around $10 a month for the connection charge.
I'm saving a couple $100s a month with this.
Eversource does not sell or install solar panels, but they are involved in the process of connecting your solar panels to the grid. Even with solar, you'll still get a bill from Eversource each month showing your electricity usage and charging you a connection fee.
We approve that project before it's built. Customer will then go work with their installer to get it constructed and put on their roof.
Andrew Belden is the VP of Solar Programs for Eversource. Because they approve solar projects, Eversource knows the average installation costs between $20,000 and $30,000. The price varies depending on your energy needs, and there are 3 different ways to fund the project. If you buy the panels outright in cash, you can own your system immediately. You can also take out a loan to buy them. You then own the panels but have monthly loan payments. The third option is leasing the solar panels. You typically paid nothing up front for the installation, but you don't own the panels and will pay the leaser a monthly bill. Alex Giles, the owner of Venture Solar, explains how a lease works.
What they're doing is they're making a monthly payment for the electricity that the system would generate instead of paying for the electricity from either Eversource or UI or the utility provider.
When deciding which payment option is best, you'll want to consider the federal tax credit for solar installations. You can get 30% of the installation cost back when you file your taxes, but you have to be the owner of the system. If you choose the lease option, you are not eligible for the tax credit. But there are Connecticut incentives you may qualify for.
There's another incentive in Connecticut called the Residential Renewable Energy Solutions Program, and that allows you to sell your energy back to the grid at the same rate as you pay us for electricity.
So how much you can save each month depends on a number of factors. Belden says to be careful of companies that quote unbelievable savings.
One of the things that we frequently hear is that installers will make projections about the savings for solar that are hundreds or $200,000. That's really not a credible estimate.
Graybars bought his panels in cash, so there's no monthly payment. He also received the federal tax credit, but for him the decision wasn't strictly about the dollars and cents.
I feel like this is not just helping me and my wallet, but I'm contributing to the community that I'm a part of to make it a better place.
The experts we talked with say there are 3 things that make your home a good candidate for solar. 1, you have to have a good roof, meaning it's relatively new and in good condition. 2, there can't be any trees creating shade over your roof. And 3, check to see how much sunlight your home gets by using a tool like Google's Project Sunroof. And if you own a home, chances are you've had someone knock at your door or call you trying to sell you solar. The owner of one Connecticut solar company thinks there should be more regulations around what those salespeople can tell you.
We're still here. It's 2024 now.
For more than a year, Marcus Gianfrido and Kathy Minkler have watched their solar panels produce no electricity at all. They were installed on their Higginham home in November 2022, but never turned on.
Their pitch was this was a very quick thing. It was going to be done fast.
They signed the contract for their solar installation at this very table. They were first approached by the salesperson at a home improvement store.
He knew how to sell. He sold. He knew what he was doing. He talked us into it.
They say the agreement was they'd pay nothing up front and lease the panels from Posigen for $160 a month for 20 years.
They took our electric bill for the 3 months, and they came up with a certain rate, and they said for the next 20 years, that's all you're going to pay.
They have not sent any payments to Posigen so far because the panels were never turned on. They continue to pay for electricity instead. They shared with us text messages showing how every couple months they'd ask what was going on, and every time they were told to wait.
Did any of what he promised you come true?
No, none of it. So it's all been just like shadows.
The I-Team analyzed data from the Attorney General's office detailing all solar complaints since 2019. Of the 200 complaints with the category listed, 27 were listed as complaints about telemarketers or home solicitation. Alex Giles is the co-founder of Venture Solar. We caught up with him at their warehouse in Southington. Venture Solar has no connection to the Higginham complaint. Giles sat down with us to talk about the state of the solar industry.
There is no regulatory body or sort of oversight on who can and can't sell solar, and there's no license process to be able to test knowledge or proficiency.
Giles says his sales employees go through a multi-week training process where they are tested and also given a code of conduct and ethics training. Giles would like to see a system in place, like how you can't sell a home without a real estate license.
We welcome regulation, right? As a company that tries to do things the right way and has these processes in place, we would prefer that everybody was following the same process that we were.
So what happened with the home in Higginham? We took our questions directly to Posigen's Chief Financial Officer, Ben Healy.
Our salespeople can't make promises that we don't keep. All we can do is fail to execute or communicate well. And that's what happened in this case.
Healy says these issues did not stem from the sales pitch. He says their sales employees go through a rigorous training process.
Our salespeople have good training. Most importantly, they can't sell a bad product. And if we fail to execute, that's on us to make it right.
In this case, Healy says it was the communication afterwards that failed.
We lost sight of this through a technology transition on our end. It's not acceptable. Thankfully, we're on the other side of it. We don't expect it to happen again.
Healy tells the I-Team what happened in Higginham is not representative of the company and does not represent their values.
We take the issue very seriously. We're sorry if we made a mistake. We own up to it. We'll fix the mistake.
Gianfrido says after a year of frustration, there's only one solution.
I just want them off, the house fixed, and that's it, done.
Posigen employees have already visited the home several times since we reached out. Progress is happening. It just took another meeting at the kitchen table.
Gianfrido sent us these progress photos showing how Posigen followed through on its promise to take the panels off and address his issues. After the break, we look into the most common solar complaint in Connecticut, damage done during the installation process. We show you how common it is for your roof to start leaking. Leaking roofs and damaged shingles. It's the most common complaint about solar panels in Connecticut. And for one New Britain woman, it took several years to realize there was an issue.
From the outside, you probably don't notice there are any issues at Geraldine Ortega's New Britain home. But walk through the front door and look up.
The leak is bad. It's not drips anymore.
You'll spot the signs of her growing frustration.
It's been bad. It's been bad.
Ortega signed a contract with the company Sunrun to install and lease solar panels in 2018. She was happy with the money she was saving until September 2022, when she noticed the roof was leaking.
Now that it's been so long, the roof is completely stained. It's actually cracking, and the drips are more like a leak. It's horrible.
Ortega showed us the clause in her contract that says the roof penetration should be weather tight for 10 years.
We will either repair or reimburse you for damage we caused during installation to the home.
But when Ortega reached out to Sunrun, they sent a technician to her home who decided the leak was nature's fault.
They were trying to tell me that it was squirrels who made a nest, and that's what was causing the leak. I kind of found that hard to believe.
Ortega had an independent roofing company come out in October of 2023. The I-Team confirmed that a Monarch Roofing contractor wrote, "Your roof has damage from when the solar panels were first installed. I can see where the granules were scraped away from the shingles, holes were drilled in the shingles, and ridge cap shingles were broken."
Very stressful. I can't believe they did this, you know?
Ortega isn't the only one to have something like this happen. The I-Team reviewed all solar complaints to the Attorney General's office since 2019. 64% of all complaints with the category listed cited home improvement or repairs as the basis of their complaint, including 17 home improvement complaints about Sunrun. That's the third most for a solar company in Connecticut. The good news is when a solar complaint deals specifically with the installation process, you may qualify for up to $25,000 from the state's Home Guarantee Fund.
Every case is different. What I would say is if you had solar installed, if you're working with a contractor and you feel like you've been cheated, you should call the Department of Consumer Protection and ask about whether you qualify and what the standards are.
The I-Team reached out to Sunrun about Ortega's case. Sunrun sent us a statement that reiterated what they told Ortega. They believe animals caused the damage. But Sunrun agreed to repair the roof at no cost to Ortega.
I'm happy they're finally getting it fixed, but I really don't think that it would have gotten fixed if it weren't for you guys, Channel 3 News.
Less than a week after the I-Team first reached out, we watched as crews removed the solar panels so that the repair work can begin. Whether it was a squirrel or the screws, rain will hopefully no longer lead to damage.
Sunrun's statement goes on to say it is committed to making sure Ortega is a happy customer and they hope to establish a long-term relationship with her. Now that we've looked into the #1 type of complaint, we turn to the company getting the most complaints in Connecticut. That's Vision Solar. What the company's bankruptcy filing means for their hundreds of customers in Connecticut when we come back. When it comes to complaints about solar companies, there's a clear leader in Connecticut, Vision Solar. That's all according to data we analyzed from the Attorney General's office. The company filed for bankruptcy in December, leaving its customers with nobody to call.
Pamela Miller had always been interested in going solar, but there was always one large thing in the way.
We cannot get solar because we have a very tall oak tree that covers, the canopy covers our whole roof.
But in March of last year, a Vision Solar telemarketer told her that wasn't a problem for them.
They were the one company that said, "Oh, don't worry, we take care of that."
The telemarketer sent a Vision Solar salesperson to her Oxford home on March 7th. Miller says he insisted they sign that day.
He was very pushy when it came to just sign this and whatnot.
Just 2 days after Miller signed, Attorney General William Tong filed a lawsuit against Vision Solar, saying Vision Solar engaged in high-pressure sales tactics and preyed on low-income and disabled homeowners.
That's like the biggest of red flags. You shouldn't be rushed into a big decision like this.
Since 2021, the AG's office has received 134 complaints about Vision Solar. Vision Solar accounts for 45% of all solar complaints in Connecticut.
It sounded very, very good, and I guess it was too good to be true.
As the Attorney General's lawsuit worked its way through court, Miller was already locked in. Her panels were installed in August, but the tree never came down. The shade is limiting the energy her panels produce, which means her energy bill hasn't gone down as much as she was expecting.
Our solar panels are working at the moment, but when spring comes, if we don't take down the tree, we're stuck.
And on top of her energy bill, she has a monthly loan payment of $89.
Did we get a good deal? Absolutely not. Are we getting any benefits? Absolutely not.
As Miller was in the process of filing a complaint with the Attorney General's office, another blow. On December 28, 2023, Vision Solar filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The company is shutting down.
So now we're pretty much stuck and we don't even know, what to do.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Once they go into bankruptcy court and if they make the case that they can't pay their debts, they get a lot of protection under our nation's bankruptcy laws. I'm concerned that there won't be resources to pay people that have been cheated and swindled.
The bankruptcy means there is no longer a company to fulfill its side of Miller's contract, and the AG's lawsuit is now on hold.
I'm sorry, but this number is currently not in service.
Vision Solar's number has been disconnected altogether, so if Miller has an issue with her system or needs something repaired, there's nobody to call. Eversource is just the connector and has no responsibility for the panels.
From time to time, people will say, well, we're working with Eversource. We're partnering with Eversource. And frankly, we don't do that.
There are a few companies in Connecticut offering protections if they go out of business. Venture Solar calls it a third-party service plan.
If, God forbid, right, as the installation company, if we were not around or able to service that system, the customer has another company that is financially responsible to maintain and service that system at no cost under that contract.
For customers like Miller who are already stuck in the gray areas of bankruptcy, there is still a lot of uncertainty about what happens now.
I was so upset because I understand that we should have done more research.
The lesson learned: make sure the contracts you sign are sturdy as an oak.
We reached out to several attorneys listed for Vision Solar to ask, what should customers do now? We have not heard back. Tong suggests Vision Solar customers submit a proof of claim to the bankruptcy court. Customers may then be entitled for up to $25,000 from the Department of Consumer Protection's Home Guarantee Fund. Miller is looking into that option. Now, coming up, we look into how solar panels impact the price of your home. The data showing the investment in solar may cost you in the end. After the break. Adding solar panels to your home can save you money on your monthly electric bill, but realtors say it may cost you down the line. Overall, the numbers show right now solar isn't adding value for home buyers.
Ask people if they would be more or less likely to buy a home with solar panels.
I would want to buy a house with the solar panels on it. Just because it saves money.
I certainly would be more inclined to buy a house with solar panels.
But when you start asking follow-ups, you learn there are caveats.
Definitely would have to be owned. I wouldn't want to lease.
Well, definitely the way how it looks and how it appears definitely will affect my opinion on purchasing.
Those are the kind of answers Paul LaFay Ostap has been hearing too. She's a realtor and team leader at William Ravis Real Estate. She says the data is clear. Solar installations are not increasing home values.
You're not going to see the benefit. Not in our market, not today.
Faye Ostap pulled data from the Multiple Listing Service, or MLS. It's a database for realtors. In 2023, 244 homes in Hartford County were marketed in the MLS as having solar. That's 3% of homes sold last year. The average sales price of a home with solar was $432,104. The average sales price of a home without solar was $480,530. That's an almost $50,000 difference.
We don't have buyers in our market seeking homes with solar. If they see that the home has solar and it's owned, that's fine, but it's not something that they're specifically looking for.
She says there are two things that will make a buyer more open to solar. First is the location. She says buyers prefer when panels are on the back of the home so they don't impact curb appeal.
You definitely see more of an impact if they're at the front of the home.
But Faye Ostap says the biggest factor is who owns the panels.
The first question we always ask when we're selling a house with solar is if they're owned or leased. Because if they own the solar panels, that makes it much easier to market the property to potential buyers.
If a buyer has to take over a solar lease, the lease has to be transferred before closing on the home. That puts the buyer at potential risk.
You're essentially owning a portion of the home before you actually own the home. So it's unlikely that there would be a challenge that close to the closing date, but there are some things that we encourage people to review with their attorneys just to make sure they're not at any unnecessary risk.
It's all something to think about before you sign a contract. The bright future of solar can depend on who is looking.
Ostap says this could all change, of course, as attitudes change with time and new technology comes out. And everyone we talk to agrees on one thing. You should do your research before signing a solar contract. They are complicated, long-term agreements that should be reviewed carefully. Thank you for tuning in to Going Solar. We have links to all of the resources we've talked about today on the WFSB app. For the I-Team, Cassidy Williams, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.